Welcome everyone to the VMblog Mega Series, where today we'll be discussing an important topic in 2021, remote work and working from anywhere. And to do that, we're joined by Chuck Brady, the Vice President at Liquit. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Great I know this is the first time we've talked to each other, so I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Me too.
So I guess with that, before we dive into the topic at hand, maybe you can just start things off by providing a little bit of background information on the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So the story starts in 2015 in the Netherlands when our founders kind of got together and realized there was a gaping hole in the way that companies were delivering and providing access to applications. You know, they sought to kind of create a one-stop shop, if you will. And they really were born from a consulting company and saw the issues firsthand. So they were really focusing on, hey, what do customers really need? Today, we have over 470 customers, predominantly in Europe. We're growing and expanding all over the world now. I'm a result of that. You know, one of our partners called us the best kept secret in the industry because, you know, we've been very popular in Europe, but not here in the States. So, you know, we've been really growing exponentially and, you know, it's been a great ride so far.
And today's topic, we're talking about, you know, work from anywhere. We did have a series in the past about work from home, but there's a lot of differences between the two. So maybe you can go into kind of detail and clarify the differences between work from home and work from anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So from our perspective, you know, work from home has been, you know, been done for, boy, I've been working from home for 15 years already. And basically it's just, you know, give some users a SaaS apps and a VPN and they're off and running, right? But, you know, I think back, you know, pre-COVID, and that's probably going to come up a lot, right? Pre-COVID, you were probably talking about 3 to 4% of users working from home, and that wasn't constant to over 60, 70% during the pandemic. And that's just work from home. But, you know, what we're seeing is kind of an evolution now that companies are used to having users not in the office. It's, you know, and as the pandemic is starting to decrease, if you will, you're seeing more people shuffling around. But it's more than just accessing, you know, O365 online and, you know, a few SaaS apps here and there. It's really about accessing all of the applications, no matter where you are, right? You know, we have a customer that is a global organization. They have people that move around from office to office, and it could be London, it could be Singapore, it could be New York. And what they're finding is when somebody from Singapore is in New York, they have a hard time assimilating to all of the applications and gaining all the information they need, right? That is one of the biggest challenges that I see organizations having when it comes from the difference between working from home and then working anywhere in the world, right?
So that's an interesting point. So, you know, you said you've been doing this now, working remotely for the past 15 years. I've been working remotely as well, not for that many years, but it's you know, getting there, and it was pre-COVID as well.
Yeah.
Based on your expertise and background, what are some of the things like best practices or things that companies should be doing today to better prepare their organizations for this whole work from anywhere, you know, lifestyle that we're starting to see from company to company?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, I mean, we've been extremely busy lately because companies keep asking us, so how can you help us with our users accessing applications? And, you know, for a long time, I think companies thought they were covered. they thought, hey, we got this whole, remote work thing down. They've had, service workers out taking care of customers and all that. They had mobile devices. They had users working from home. However, with the pandemic, I think they realized just how unprepared they were to manage such a massive amount of users accessing, applications on-prem, in the cloud, SaaS, mobile devices. And really who suffered was it was the user experience, right? The user experience was, log in to one app and, maybe it's a SaaS app. So you open up a browser and log in. Open up an app on your laptop, double click and log in there, right? Take your device, have to, click, and it's much easier. But you're in and out of different screens and systems and browsers and logins and passwords that it really the users were the ones that suffered. And then VPNs aren't the most reliable, especially when you have such a large number of users really accessing that bandwidth. And then bandwidth, I mean, no matter where you're at, it's always an issue. So what we see companies needing to do is really kind of look at it from a 30,000 foot view. And the most important thing is getting those applications to the users without the disruptions that they're used to, right? Servers go down for maintenance, releases come up and patches come up for Windows and for Mac. Multiple devices accessing applications that were developed for a single, operating system. They're trying to make those available. So, it's really kind of a convoluted thing. And that's why our platform was developed, was to really aggregate applications from multiple platforms into a single workspace. Make it easy for the end users, because, IT and infrastructure and all that is really created for the business, for the users to drive the business, right? So from that perspective, that's what our founders realized early on, and that's why we developed this technology.
Well, Chuck, what would you say are some of the specific problems that Liquid aims to solve in the world of remote work?
Yeah, I think one of the things, and there are several, right? But I think a key aspect in this day and age is security, right? And reliability. One of the things that we do is we automate the patch and release and update process. We do that with a setup store full of, now I think it's 3,700 application setups. And where, basically an admin will take that setup down, package it once, and all the parameters are stored within our system so that they don't need to package again. And then once that, they post it up to the App Store, and once that application is posted, they no longer have to worry about anything other than the user, if they have access to that application, clicking in their catalog and, bringing it into their workspace. And then once the workspace is refreshed, there's no interruption. It's automatically could be automatically pushed out too without the user even knowing it. So we're really focusing on keeping, applications up to date with, compliance, with, security patches being updated all the time, but also making it easy for the user. We remove all that complexity from them, right? So in upwards of 99.9% uptime, availability of applications that are there within the workspace.
Chuck, you talked a bit earlier as we started our conversation, saying that you guys are out there in the Netherlands and in the UK area and Europe, but you not as much heavily focused as far as people knowing about you here in the US. I want to change that with this video. If you could,
Appreciate that.
maybe talk about some of the company's differentiators. I mean, what is it about Liquid, why someone here in the US should really look at you guys and choose your company?
Yeah, and and we appreciate all the positive press, I guess, or exposure. But from our perspective, I think and it's interesting. People always want to categorize you into something, right? Because I think early on in this industry, and I've been in it for a long time, the Gartners, the Forresters, the IDCs, they want to put you in a category, right? So automatically everyone says, so are you a, deployment solution? Well, yeah, but that's just not what all we do. Oh, so you compete with X, Y, and Z. And we're like, well, not really. We really kind of fill the gaps, right? So I like to explain it this way. We're not out to replace any technology, but in an organization's current state, we can lay on the top of your current infrastructure and fill those gaps where, let's say, your deployment solution can't, send applications out to multiple devices, or one particular solution is really good at managing policies. We can fill the gap there by helping deploy and configure applications. So from that perspective, and then the workspace always comes up. Do you compete with this workspace and that workspace? Well, I wouldn't consider us a competitor, because we can literally provision applications to any workspace, right? We can use a third party, an existing workspace infrastructure tool. We can send applications to Microsoft Teams, to SharePoint, to a corporate intranet. We can even provision applications to the Windows Start menu to make it look like those applications are literally on your Windows device. However, they're being aggregated from multiple platforms. And that could be a Citrix environment on-prem, in the cloud, VMware, AWS, Microsoft AVD, whatever it is. We can then provision those applications to make it look like to the user those are running directly on their system, and give them that same user interface, because we contextually deliver those applications based on the device, the location, the connectivity, so that the user is basically, they have no complexity, they have no responsibility when it comes to having to think, okay, did I install this application on my Mac or on my mobile device? Am I going to be able to pick up where I left off? Doesn't matter. It's all the same user interface, customizable, and everything's set up that way. So from that perspective, do we have competition? I guess you would say yes. However, from our standpoint, the aspect of competition isn't really competition. It's just filling gaps of whether you consider them legacy tools and technologies, to be able to very easily migrate and move to whatever your future state is, whether that's the cloud, whether that's VDI, whether that's mobility. We facilitate that very easily by providing those technologies for the infrastructure, but also for the user.
So as the future of remote work is changing, do you think people are going to go back to the office, or do you think remote work is going to expand, or are we going to see some kind of like hybrid between the two? What happens to these employees? Do they return to the office, or what do the employers do?
Well, some of the people I talk to, they don't want to return at all. Although I think we're going to see a hybrid type environment where, you'll see 2-3 days of working from home and the rest in the office. I think you'll see a encouragement to travel and go visit other offices. I think because of a lot of companies have been more spread out these days. You'll see people in Texas working out of the Florida office and vice versa, and that kind of thing. But I think what we're trying to enable is the flexibility, right? And that is, if someone wants to work from the office, great. Let them, plug into an Ethernet, get in behind the firewall and do whatever they need to do. However, if they're traveling, if they're, working from home, if, they're working from their mobile device, it doesn't matter. What really matters is accessing those applications on any device, whatever platform those applications were originally developed for and running on. And the key thing is the contextual delivery that we are able to bring, and kicking off what we call launch sequences for each of those contexts. The user basically can work from wherever without hassle. IT, it's much easier for them. They can move stuff around, they can migrate, they can bring servers down and applications down for updates and patches and maintenance. It won't affect the user. And the business isn't affected. So what does that mean? That means Liquid can facilitate and enable a business to continue working while whatever happens on the back end happens. So it's really a very impactful technology. And to be honest, in my experience, I don't see any other technology being able to facilitate that the way we do. And that is, providing that value to the user and the business, but also providing that value to the IT infrastructure.
And Chuck, for the folks who are watching this video, can you explain how an organization can still support a hybrid IT environment while the workforce is remote?
Yeah. So like I alluded to earlier, we ensure applications are accessible no matter where that particular user is and no matter what device they're trying to access that on. And we make those applications available by aggregating those apps to that workspace. And as I said, we're extremely flexible from the workspace standpoint, right? We allow access to those applications, no matter what or where. So from that perspective, aggregating those apps and making them very simple to access while still having that, personal, customizable user interface, and whether it's from a browser or from our agent or from Teams, we really want to make those users productive and have those applications accessible. So providing those, the way we do is really the key to that.
Now, I know we've talked about this throughout the conversation, but if we wanted to recap and say, how does your solution make it easier for end users to access their applications no matter where they are? What would you say?
Well, it's kind of a process. It's kind of a combination, right? And we're an end-to-end application management, delivery, and access technology, right? So, but it all begins with the application, and that application comes in many forms, many setups, many different ways, right? And no matter what that setup, and I'll use an example that we talked about earlier with a customer this week. Having an application in typically an MSI from the vendor, right? What you want to do is you want to be able to take that application and have it more portable. So you could either virtualize it with app-B or use MSIX or Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop. So what we do is we can take that application, we can see if it converts to an MSIX. If not, we can convert it, automatically through the Microsoft tool integration to a app-V sequence. If not, we can leave it in the MSI format and still deliver that to an Azure Virtual Desktop environment. And we can do that with, with AWS and AppStream, and workspaces. We can do that in Google with Chrome. So from that perspective, it really doesn't matter what condition that application comes to the environment through. It's what really matters is accessing that application from a workspace, from a VDI and a workspace. And we can then deliver that, making it so easy for the user. And that's the key, right? And really it comes down to the icon. And that icon shows up the same way, and it's, you know, an Adobe, a Chrome or whatever icon. It shows up the same way in every workspace. And all the user has to do is click on that. But our smart icon technology takes care of everything from the back end. And as I said, those launch sequences for every context that user accesses that application in, it's that simple. They just click on the icon.
Lastly, where can people go if they want to find out more information about Liquid and some of the solutions that you've talked about today?
Yeah, www.liquit.com. We're just about to launch our brand new website that we've completely redesigned from the ground up. Lots of great new information there. It talks about you know, anywhere operations and being able to manage your users no matter where they're at and have them access applications, but also info@liquit.com. We'll you know, get that in an email, and we'll respond to your questions and provide any information that you need.
Right. It was a pleasure speaking with you today, and we look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian and David, and my pleasure. I really appreciate it. It was good fun.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more from our cloud technology partners, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to get notified next time we post a video, please hit the subscribe and the bell notification. Very important.